talking about?
Can't hardly wait.
Can't hardly wait. It's one of the greatest movies ever made.
No, I don't know about that.
What? You don't like
Just
Can't
because
Hardly
nobody
Wait?
had Chris Hemsworth's abs in that movie doesn't mean
Chris
it's not good.
Hemsworth's probably in that movie somewhere.
He was still in Australia at the time.
Everybody's in that movie.
Oh well, I don't know if Chris Hemsworth.
If
is there.
you think John's wrong and that Can't Hardly Wait is a great movie, send a letter to his house and tell him.
Actually,
He
post it
lives
on the
at-
YouTube channel in the comment section. No, don't make fun of John. Don't be mean to John.
Why?
Just mention that it's a great movie.
I
Tell
can take
him.
it.
Tell him.
I know you
Can't
can.
Hardly Wait is a great movie,
We don't
and
wanna
Tim has
foster that kind of
amazing
resentment.
feet.
I just noticed I'm wearing a 45-foot wide number
my
3
God.
shirt on the YouTube channel tonight. This is my
Is
Chicago.
that your Dale Earnhardt shirt?
It's my Chicago Bears shirt.
If you're not first, you're last.
Well, I was sitting upstairs before we started podcasting,
They're
and
off, Charlie.
Woo! And me and Charlie have come to the conclusion that the only way we can get Thor type abs is by eating as much vanilla ice cream as we can.
well,
and
we've
s-
never tried it before.
Yeah,
Brought
well,
to you by
so that's what we
Briars.
decided.
Let's just say that because for experimental purposes, we didn't. We thought we'd try because it might work.
With a brownie.
Yeah, with a brownie and
And
a
You
Hershey's
have
chocolate.
one serving on a brownie and one serving by itself. You got to have a control.
Yeah.
After we had tacos.
All the tacos.
and I had actually I had Subway last night for
Brian,
dinner.
you missed Mexican night.
Apparently.
Brian Pate is on the
I
phone
won't
with
get
us.
those shredded abs now.
What's that?
I won't get those shredded abs.
No, but you'll get some shredded cheese.
That's right. Ooh, we got plenty of that. Well, we're missing you, Brian, this evening. We understand you're home tonight because of sickness in the family, and that's what we hear. I haven't had a baby around here for 13 years, so I hear that's what babies do is get sick, and we do miss you, but we're glad you're on the phone with us this evening. The reason why we were so intent on getting Brian on the phone with us is because last week Thor Ragnarok came out, and we went last Thursday night on I think it was probably one of the first showings in the state of Kentucky. Not that that's saying much. I mean, we here in Kentucky don't have
we went to
much.
Secret Cinemas.
Secret Cinemas. We won't tell you where it's at because we want to keep it a secret.
It's near a rusted water tower.
You go down there and turn by the rusted water tower.
Rusted water tower.
I think last night though, leaving, I think the only cop in town followed me all the way out of town.
Well, you were a stranger.
Well,
He
must,
sure did.
he did. Brian, ask Brian. We turned out of the movie theater, and he whips out behind us, and he stays on our tail all the way to the main intersection,
Yeah,
heading
but
back
you
out to
did
the
almost drive
interstate.
through the grass. That's probably why. That's all it is.
What happened?
Okay,
It's because you had those Jefferson County tags, man. They were hunting you down.
in my
Exactly.
defense, the Secret Cinemas is so secret that they don't have good lighting
They
in the
don't have
parking
good
lot.
lighting. It's true.
So you left, and you blew out of the parking
Well,
lot.
I kept waiting for you guys to leave, and you guys just kept sitting there and sitting there. I was like, all right, I'm just going home.
Well, so I was sitting there, and I was going to follow you, and even with my contacts in, I'm pretty much night blind. I can't
Good thing you drove
see.
home.
Yeah, I can't see that well at night. And me and Brian are talking, and I take off across the parking lot, and what looked like the driveway because they have really nicely cut grass.
Not
Is-
usually. You got them at a good
Yeah,
week.
well, unfortunately for me, they had just cut it, I guess. And Brian's sitting in front. He's like, he keeps going, "Hey, bud." And you can always tell when Brian gets nervous because he does that. He goes, "Hey, bud, hey, bud," and I was like, "What? What's wrong?" He was like, "You're about to go out into the grass." I was like, "Oh, nuts!" and I hit the brakes and turned real hard, and that's about the time that the cop got behind.
Yeah, you got. I mean, they don't get a lot of action out there, so
And he
it's probably
followed
like,
me all the
"Gotta
way
see
across
this
town.
boy."
I thought, man, he's gonna pull
Did
me
it follow you
over.
to like Pleasant Grove?
I don't
Oh,
know.
we went way past that. We went the other way, but he followed us all the way past the McDonald's there in town, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
past the new Dollar Tree. It was almost to
Oh, yeah.
the,
That's
yeah,
pretty much
yeah.
to the county line. Yeah.
Yeah, he followed
Yeah,
us.
He escorted you out of town.
Pretty much, yeah. We got pretty
Yeah,
much
we were
escorted.
getting the police escort right on out. That's right.
Because I was like, what in the world is he doing? Because I kept looking back. I was like, what did I do? But apparently I almost ran through the grass at the
thought you were a little
Secret
bit
Cinemas.
tipsy.
He probably thought you was drinking
Drinking out there? No, I didn't know they served stuff like that at the movie theater. But
moonshine.
yeah, out there on top of the car, Thor Ragnarok was the greatest.
You go to the rusted water tower. All kinds of stuff happened.
Well, anyways, we went and saw it last week. And last week we did a show where we did a review of.
Spoiler free.
It was a spoiler. It was a spoiler-free show. This week, though, it is not going to be spoiler free, and so we have decided that from this point forward, we're just going to give you fair warning.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
That's right.
Please be advised.
If you have not seen Thor Ragnarok and you do not want to be spoiled about Thor Ragnarok, turn this off.
In 3, 2, 1.
Oh my gosh, when Thor dies.
when he gets both his
No,
eyes,
he does not die.
when he gets both of his eyes poked out.
Just one.
Now, I told a kid that last week at school. He's like, "Did you say Thor Ragnarok?" This kid is like a huge bro. I was like, "Yeah, man." Well, don't tell me about it. He's like, "Oh, no." Sitting at his desk. He lets go of his ears. I was
his
like,
name Tim?
"No, his name ain't Tim." I said, there's this one scene where the Hulk and Dr.Strange fight to the death. He's like, "No." I said, and then the Guardians of the Galaxy show up and drop Thor back off.
Yeah.
He was like, "No, don't say things like that. Don't tell me."
that.
I was like, "No, it
wasn't.
wasn't anything like that." But last week we did do a review of Thor Ragnarok, and I have a really hard time not spoiling things. I was under.
Did a good job.
I did. I
did.
couldn't hardly say anything. So this week, what we're going to do is we're going to review it again. We're going to give another second review, except this time we're going to actually break the movie down, and we're going to talk about the way it deserves to be talked about.
Before we jump in, Brian, real quick, you weren't on last week. Initial thoughts about Thor?
It was amazing. I think if it's not my favorite now, it's probably in the top 3, maybe. I mean, it's probably 1 or 2, actually.
Yeah.
Because it was awesome. I think it's definitely, because you kept reading all those reviews like on Rotten Tomato and everything, and how high it had been ranked, and it's kind of like, really? I mean, usually the superhero movies I don't think usually get that high rating, but I thought it was fantastic.
I did too. Thought it was really good. Really well done.
We all discussed about it how last week how it could really be, even if you don't see the first 2 movies, it could really be a standalone Thor movie that you wouldn't even have to see the first Thor or the Planet of Darkness, Dark World. That's the name of it. Thor: The Dark World,
Gnomes.
and you could still enjoy Thor. It could almost be like a standalone that came right out of Age of Ultron, and they never even made a Thor origin story.
Right.
And that's really how good this movie was.
Let me just say, since we're talking spoilers here, the thing I thought this movie did so well, and I kind of referenced this last time, is it took some important parts of the first 2 movies, and even the Avengers movies, and very quickly brought them in and very quickly pushed them aside. Like, they very quickly brought up Jane and said that they broke up. And then that was it. They didn't talk about her anymore. I thought they did a great job of bringing Odin in and letting him have his small part and then killing him off. And it did really well. And having him in the movie but not letting him bog down the movie at all. And also with the Incredible Hulk, with how he got to the Grandmaster, they didn't make some giant subplot about, oh, he did this, he did this. It was a very much kind of a throwaway line. Well, he crashed there, and
Yeah, that was it.
here he is.
Here he is. I thought the ideas of like we were talking about last week, discussing. I said this last week, was the idea of having no love interest in the movie really, to me, pushed the narrative farther than they could have if they'd had him trying to be in some kind of relationship with somebody else. I mean, at one point in it, he kind of makes eyes at the Valkyrie,
Right.
but it wasn't real showy. It was just, hey, it's kind of this moment.
Well, he had mentioned how much he adored them when he was a child and all this stuff. It was more to get her favor than to get. Like,
it was more hero worship than it was anything else. But I really
more more and less hey.
Well, and I like the fact that you had this is as we talked about a little bit last week too. This cliche-ish idea of the hero's dilemma of having to save the damsel in distress, which I'm glad to see. In my view, I'm glad to see that superhero movies are kind of moving beyond that to where the female leads in the movies
always have to be rescued.
Well, in case anymore they don't, and that's the part I like about it, because even like Pepper in Iron Man 3, she was actually the one that saved it.
Right.
And so I'm cool with the way they're doing things, the way they're moving in that direction. But I was really, we were talking about, I mean, Carla were talking about that before. It's like, okay, how are they going to put the Jane thing into this? Because we know she didn't really want to have any part. They didn't want to do anything else with these movies.
I mean, you didn't feel like, oh, that was really a cop out how they just got rid of her. It just, you didn't really feel like she had to be part of it.
No, she didn't, and that was the cool part about it. But they did. But just they sewed it up real nice, put a little bow on top of it right there at the end. It's like, well, we mutually broke up, and that was it. You know, I was like, yeah, we mutually broke up. And I was very glad to see that they did that.
It was buddy cop comedy style, and I loved it. It was great.
I was I was really psyched about, and this is something Charlie we had talked about before last week, because we were dying to talk about all this stuff last week, and we knew we couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And we want to get Brian back on here to talk spoilers too this evening. But the Dr. Strange scene was absolutely amazing.
And I still haven't watched Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're missing out. It's good.
Doctor Strange has one of the best hero beat the villain scenes in any of the Marvel movies. It is great.
Manu, I come to bargain. What are you doing?
Did you say Yondu? I've come to bargain.
Yondu, that'd been awesome. What you want, y'all?
What you want? Those are my underpants.
No, Mondu or whatever his name.
Dormammu.
I come to bargain. No, and I don't want to get on Dr. Strange, but just having seen the movie though,
it was just so fun.
Having seen the Doctor Strange movie, it really did complement what was going on in the Thor movie, because they really did a really cool job.
It's warm in here. Sorry.
We're talking about Crimson.
Charlie's taking his clothes off, Brian. He's taking his jacket off.
Oh, you too.
He's got an Elvis shirt. Get to the YouTubes if you're listening to this, everybody. He's showing the guns.
Has Charlie taken his socks off yet?
No, his shoes are still on, but mine are off.
See, if we'd had a
shoes are coming off. Oh,
there go the lights.
He's got black socks. I got white socks. Let's intermingle here.
Have some purple socks.
Junk.
Just for all of our fans out there that want to know, since I'm not on camera this week, I just have on white socks.
Oh, you're so boring now that you're a third time parent.
Child.
Third time
can't afford those designer socks anymore.
Brian is the epitome of married with children now. He's got the third one.
In Thor, they're bringing in of the storyline of Planet Hulk and making Ragnarok and Planet Hulk one movie. It was seamless, I thought. I didn't feel like it was like, oh, we're taking away from the Ragnarok storyline to involve the Planet Hulk storyline. I thought it all worked together really well, and I really Planet Hulk could have been its own movie, but at the same time, they did great bringing it in there.
Well, and I think the thing about that was with me was they did a good job, because they wanted to put Hulk in another movie besides an Avenger, and in the Avenger movies, he as much as like in Ultron, he was kind of an intricate part of the plot. He's still just kind of like, okay, here's Hulk in the Avengers.
It's the strongest Avenger.
Yeah, and with this, they could have that Planet Hulk storyline without having to go with the risk of putting an entire Hulk movie out there, and they could fuse that with a character such as Thor, who they all knew could carry a movie.
Yeah,
and they slammed it together, but it didn't feel like there was a seam there. It was just really well put together.
Right. Well, think back to the first Avengers movie, and the scenes with Thor and Hulk are fun scenes in the movie where they're fighting and he just boom punches them, and it just was so well done, putting them back together in this movie.
The scene where Loki finds out that Hulk is the champion. I've got to get out of here.
He's freaking out.
Yes.
And then when he takes Thor and he's slamming him back and forth, he's like, yes!
Now you know what it feels
like. Which the thing about it is, and this is something I read a couple of days ago that I think it was Kevin Feige said. Or
no, I'm just gonna turn that fan on. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry,
Charlie's
talking Thor and his abs, and Charlie's getting hot and bothered.
He has to go turn the fan on. Look at that. He had to get up. Look at that. He's leaving.
Good. He's left.
He's
gone.
Oh,
he's back.
Oh, you got to turn it down.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're warm, but the rest of us are.
I'm wearing a
Just got
thermal.
a nice up table shot of John right there.
Look at that.
Oh,
I'm glad
sorry, Brian. You're
I'm glad I
missing out.
decided to wear pants tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Table skirt blows up, and there's John in his Thor boxers.
Because you know, before we started YouTubing, I sometimes I didn't wear any. I just sat down here and just we all, you know, Charlie, man, all of a sudden he's letting the wind blow his shirt, and look at that, the hair.
Here's
He had to turn the fan on because I said Thor. And he was just like,
anyways, but
Warm.
the Loki parts
It was Loki that got behind.
Yeah, it was Loki.
Gosh.
where he's slamming it back and forth. I mean, yeah, the whole battle scene between him and the Hulk is fun. It's great. It's good action, but it's got good dialogue in there,
and it doesn't last 40 minutes.
and it doesn't last 40 minutes.
What
it
I
felt
was,
like it
big
lasted like
guy.
2 minutes, even though it lasted probably 10.
10.
yeah.
But it was just
Sun's going
perfectly done.
down.
But what I was going to say there a minute ago before Charlie got up and turned on the fan was that they
me
had
be
said that Avengers 4 was going to be the last of the interconnected movies that were going to do something else. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because if you don't have them interconnected, then you don't get lines like, now you know what it feels like. Because they went all the way back to Avengers for that line.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. That's what I like. And I think that's the appeal, as opposed to what we see with the DC movies of the Marvel universe. I mean, you're talking about a universe because it's all interconnected, and people who were there for Avengers and saw it, they get the payoff on that joke.
Sure.
Because you're sticking with this, because you stuck with it.
It's good on both parts. If you had seen all the Marvel movies, there was extra special bonuses for you. But if you've never seen any of the Thor movies, it was still a good movie. That throwaway line there didn't feel like, oh man, I'm really missing out because I don't get that reference.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about it was, what
You're right there, Brian.
are you chipping ice, Brian?
What now?
Are you chipping ice?
No, I thought that was you guys.
No,
It's
it's
the
me.
ghost cat.
I'm chipping ice.
It sounded like you were. It was like you were.
Spilt your drink again.
It's like you were feeding. Sound like you were feeding chickens or something there for a second. It's like, oh, I got to go feed a chicken. That's what I'm
Thought you
thinking
got
about.
one of Teddy's bottles out. Bottles.
No, it was me tapping on my rock hard abs now.
Oh,
there it
there's
is.
Brian Hemsworth.
There it was.
there you
Speaking
go.
of that, when he first gets back to Asgard and Loki has got the whole statue and the tragedy of Loki play with Matt
awesome.
Damon in it and Sam Neill and the other Hemsworth brother, it's so good because you're watching it and you see Thor, the fake Thor, and the version, you're like, oh, okay, they're doing it, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's Matt Damon as Loki. It was so good.
When you leaned forward and goes, it's Matt Damon.
Yeah. Everybody in the theater is like, it's Matt Damon.
Yeah, I was like, it's Matt Damon.
Sub-Zero.
And I was. That was one of them scenes that I thought was really, that even that was good. It wasn't
Yeah.
hokey. It wasn't stupid. It fit into
what's
the
great
movie.
about that is he's in this movie, and Ben Affleck and Justice League is what, next week?
Yeah.
And they're all big buddies. Just think it's hilarious that he's in a movie that it's almost counter to to that.
We said this. I think I said it to you coming out of the theater last night. I said Justice League does not have a chance now.
No, I'm thinking Thor's second week will still be higher than Justice League. Ooh, I wonder.
Ooh, that's a bold.
I don't know.
Prophecy.
I mean, Justice. Oof. Maybe.
Justice League trailer looked absolutely like dumpster fire.
Trash. You're gonna love Aquaman. I guarantee you.
We'll be gonna be heroes.
I told John and Charlie that I had felt like over the previous weeks that what we were seeing on television was kind of winning me over a little bit. And then when I saw that preview last night, I was like, no.
There is absolutely nothing that has won me over to the Justice League movie. And
Not even Ezra Koenig
no,
and how quirky he is?
no, I don't like
Who?
I don't like the
Quirky?
Flash in that.
Ezra Miller.
Oh, sorry. Ezra
No,
Koenig's
I'm
somebody
not. I'm not a Flash fan of that. But back to the Thor thing.
run really fast and push people.
Back to the Thor thing because that's
I'm fast and wacky.
Whack, 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 whack.
Back to the Thor movie because only it's worthy of this podcast tonight. Is not only was Thor and what you would consider to be all the main characters in it good, but they had an entire ensemble cast of all these smaller characters. What in the world do we know? We should have asked Aaron when we had him on. I'm gonna have to ask him. What in the world was what was the slugfish thing with the knife hands?
I think it was supposed to be a Brood, which is an X-Men villain. From Planet Hulk, there is a Brood that's part of the Gladiators.
Is it?
The Brood's more like a
insect,
locust.
Right? Yeah, but they can't make it
Well,
the
true.
Brood because they don't own the rights anymore. But
What's his name?
Mick,
Mick.
where should we go? I don't know. Where are you from, Mick? Oh, Mick's dead. I accidentally stepped on him out on the bridge. I was just scanning his body because I felt so bad. Oh wait, Mick's alive.
I got
which
these
is
two
which is
dudes.
funny because that's like the last line of the movie.
Yeah. One of them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Korg and Mick, they're great. I mean, it's so fun. I thought like all the side characters were fun. They were good. Jeff Goldblum was good. Carl Urban was good as Scourge. The bad
this one Desi, and this one's Troy. Because when you put them together, they destroy.
Yeah,
That was basically playing Dreadnought.
Yeah, it was
I
it
could
was
say
very
that.
Dreadnought. I see that now. I like Mick how in all the scenes he's in, he doesn't. You just see him in the background. He's like spinning around in circles and stuff.
I'm at a rock. Nothing to fear here, unless you're scissors. It's a little rock, paper, scissors joke.
Excuse me, we're laughing about.
You
this
sound
scene
like
here.
old Doug. So
Yeah.
call you new Doug.
Hey, new Doug.
And I've never. And the thing about it is we're sitting here, we're dying laughing about this.
And you don't know anything about these people.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it is we've done reviews before for movies. We did Guardians of the Galaxy back in the summer.
We did Tag.
Yeah, we reviewed Tag,
Brian's favorite movie ever.
and
Yeah.
and we haven't set. I've never sat around and talked about a Marvel movie where I laughed so much as I have over this one. I mean, I was sitting in class today watching kids take a quiz, and a scene popped in my
And you're
head,
sticking.
and I started laughing. And they look around and look, "Oh, you have to see Ragnarok.
You
to
wouldn't understand.
You haven't ever seen it."
Hipster Thor watch.
Yeah,
You wouldn't understand.
it was great.
Like,
The
it's cool.
of course the Stan Lee.
The Stan Lee scene was
That was
great.
actually one of the best Stan Lee
He's
movies,
fun.
or Stan Lee scenes. And he's like, "Please, sir,
Hold still.
how dare you touch my? Do not touch my hair." And he's like, he's like, "Please, sir, don't cut my hair.
What does he say? You gotta sit still.
You gotta still
I
stand
bet-
here or whatever.
I beg you, sir."
Please don't cut my
Jeff
hair.
Goldblum again was fantastic. The part where all of a sudden he's just like DJing.
he's just walking around. I was
What
like,
are you guys whispering about?
and one of the scenes in it that really made me laugh. And it was just because it was classic, like Jeff Goldblum. Is she says the slaves are revolting? He's like, don't say that word.
Yeah.
And she's like, the mainframe's been shut down. The slaves are revolting. He's like, don't say that word. She's like, what, mainframe? He's
Oh,
like,
the S word.
and that's classic Jeff Goldblum.
I know, because he just gives that look like,
Yeah, and you wonder if that stuff, because it's so
off the wall,
whether or not that was
ad libbed.
whether or not they ad libbed that scene.
the final extra credit scene where he pops out of there and he's like, everybody's done a great job. I think everybody should give themselves a pat on the back. I'm giving myself a pat on the back
because we couldn't have had this insurrection without me.
without me. So I think it's good enough to call it a tie.
I thought we were gonna have a riot at the end though, because
Somebody got really mad.
Somebody got mad. I'll sit through this whole
I
thing.
sat through just for that.
Oh, I was standing right next to that guy when that happened.
I was like, dude.
I had for those of you Five Live listeners, let's try to say this in a nice way. I had to pee like 17 times.
I know
during
you
the
and
film.
beautiful Brent were like taking shifts to go into the bathroom.
I didn't know that. But like right before the movie started, well, not right before, like after the first 10 minutes of the trailers, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Then in the very middle, I had to go, and then at the end, I'm sitting there thinking, am I gonna make a mess in this movie? So I had to get up like in between the sizzlers.
Yeah.
So I was standing on the side, and then there was these three gentlemen that I'm just guessing
Locals?
love NASCAR.
locals. Of secret
locals.
cinemas.
And this is stupid. We sat here this whole time. Well, number one, you're standing. Number two,
What do you
don't have
expect?
to.
Yeah.
Like
I
all
mean-
those Sizzlers, I guarantee you're on YouTube right now.
Oh, I mean, by far, overall though, the funniest Marvel movie, and one of the most enjoyable.
Oh, I guarantee. Like I as I said last week, and I've said 4 million times this week, I just watched Thor's the other day. Never wanted to, but this movie made me want to.
Yeah.
This storyline they were doing, this, you know, and this film was just so funny, and every character, when they were humorous, it wasn't taking them out of the character to be humorous.
Right.
It was just funny in the character.
So it's like, I kind of thought it was a little bit cliche to have Loki have his redeeming moment where he shows back up with the ship. But at the same time, I realized that was all part of Loki's character because he got to save all of the people off the planet.
Because
and
even
he got to be.
he even
it was,
says that
it was
I
all,
have come.
I have come. It was all for his own personal glory and gain that he gets. All of this because
He wanted to take Asgard again.
yeah.
Because he had it just in the.
And if you realize, I don't know if you caught it.
Oh, we caught it.
He totally grabbed the Tesseract.
Well, they didn't show it, but he has the Tesseract.
He's got the Tesseract.
Yeah, I mean,
because when he's walking
'cause
down
he's
there to
got
get the
the-
eternal flame,
he's got
he kind
the-
of goes whoop.
Yeah, I mean it
Does a
wasn't.
side glance.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. He turned.
Yeah.
And looked at it. Like,
Well,
he
and
had his
that's-
hands full, and then it goes to the next scene.
And so he's
There was
totally
that.
got it with him. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
which is something that now that you mention it, I see it. I didn't catch it last night. I was the 8-year-old sitting there in a chair just gating
Well, I was
out.
sitting there thinking, okay, wait, the Tesseract's one of the Infinity Stones. How are they gonna? Loki's got that.
I like the scene though where when Helena, whatever they call her, whatever her name was, went down into the trophy room. She's like, "This is all junk. None
Yeah.
of this is real."
Yeah.
And the
And
Infinity
it's got
Gauntlet, she like knocked it off.
She said that's not the real one or whatever.
Yeah, which of course would add up considering what we know about what's
One
going
of
to happen.
one of the fun parts of the movie is when they release Salter at the end, and Hulk tries to kill him. No, don't do it. He's like, ah.
He was like, what did he say? He was like,
monster.
For once, no Hulk smash.
he's like, you stupid idiot. And I like that relationship they have between them too, because
That was good.
they were totally like
yeah,
that.
well, when he's the Hulk, he's giving that whole speech about how he's the favorite Avenger, nobody likes Bruce Banner, blah blah, and then he switches the Banner and he's like, nobody likes the Hulk, everybody loves
Everybody
Bruce.
likes you.
Everybody likes you.
Bruce.
It was
Hey, big guy.
Well, that's
The sun's going.
that was
I
so
think,
funny. He
too,
kept
that-
saying that through the whole thing.
I mean, there was a little bit of where in the other films where the Hulk actually spoke a little bit, but he was carrying on conversations in this
Right,
film.
right.
He wasn't quite Smart Hulk yet, but they kind of alluded to the fact that, well, they said that he was Hulk for 2 years.
Yeah,
Well, in this time, the Hulk is getting more of his mind, getting more,
the
becoming-
Hulk mind. Yeah.
He's becoming less feral.
Yes, he's becoming more human,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, in the comic books, there's a time where the Hulk is smart.
Right.
That's what I thought was going to
Right.
happen. We were going to have Gray Hulk for a minute, but we
Yeah.
didn't. But
But it was still good. I still like that they put in when Banner sees Black Widow
Yeah.
on the screen and he turns back to Bruce Banner, that he alludes to the fact that he says, look, if I turn back in him, I may never come back
Yeah.
because the
And
Hulk
then at
is
the end of the
becoming
movie,
stronger.
he's still Hulk. Even after they've escaped and everything, he is still Hulk.
but that's something else that maybe I'm just picking on something that shouldn't be there. But the fact that Thor doesn't realize that it was the video, seeing her brought
He
him
didn't
back.
he didn't know the video was there.
But I mean, to somehow to even mention. I mean,
Well, I think it was
may
just
happen in the next film when they get back to Earth. He's here, come here, you can talk to him, and then
Well, no, I mean, if you go back and watch Avengers 2, it's a very real storyline that Black Widow and Hulk have a thing,
right.
and so I mean, I think they're just alluding to that, but at the same time, I think it's a self-aware where they're making fun of it also.
well, and,
A big guy.
and they did a good job of making fun of the Avenger movies
They did.
without offending the Avenger movies. It was really within Thor's
Yes.
character
Yeah.
to act this way, because he acts that way in all the other films. I mean,
Right, he's the comic relief at times. Yeah.
and we talked about this last week a little bit, and Brian I don't know how he feels, but Chris Hemsworth and that character has an incredible amount of comedic timing when it comes to the way he delivers those lines and the things he does. Even when you go back all the way back to the original Avengers, where he says he's adopted in that one scene where they're talking about him having a back.
He's my brother, and they're like, oh, he's adopted.
Yeah.
And then you know that if you notice, Loki does that line in this movie where he goes, he's my
I
brother,
hadn't got it, but yeah.
and he's like adopted.
Yeah.
Please help. For those of you who've seen the movie, you're laughing too when I say.
Please help. Let's do please
not
help.
doing
No, I'm
please
not
help.
doing please help. Brian, favorite part of the movie?
When Bruce Banner jumps out of the plane, he's like, I got
You-
it. Face on the rainbow award, whatever it's called.
Where he's like, you'll understand.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
That,
as John said, what was funny about it is because it wasn't like a bounce. It was just a splat.
And but here we are, and we're cackling like about
We're watching it now.
Yeah, and it's just because in that scene, because he's like, whew, it just does this swan.
It's kind of a long enough scene where you're sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, are they gonna go comedy and let him hit the bridge, or are they gonna go he's the Hulk? I'm like, I legitimately had time enough to think to myself, which way are they going to go? And I'm sitting here thinking, if they just make him hit the bridge, that's going to be like predictable, stupid comedy. But no, he hit the bridge, and you're like,
And the thing about it is the way they directed that and the way they set that up is because he jumps, and you have like a 4 second, 5
yeah.
seconds.
I mean, like I said, there's a big enough gap for you to like.
So you almost forget that he jumped. Then he's just like,
because it's in the back.
Yeah, because there's this massive fight scene going on, and they're all like, "Oh!" And then in the background, you just see Bruce Banner hit the bridge
because the giant dog's the focus.
Yeah.
Charlie, favorite scene?
It's hard to narrow down, but the one that I keep laughing at the most, it's not a scene, it's a series of scenes. It's when Bruce Banner puts on Tony Stark's pants, and he keeps pulling at him because they're so tight. If you notice, there were scenes where he was just in the background doing it,
like when they walk into the Valkyrie's like apartment or whatever. He's in the background.
They mention it like they actually like make a point to show it twice and mention it twice, and then throughout the rest of the film,
like
when he's in those clothes,
ship,
he keeps doing it. It just even like
and
out
there
of
again,
focus. And that was just so funny.
And there again, you don't know how much of that was scripted, how much you were like, all right,
how much just do it,
just go crazy,
just
whatever y'all want to
when
do.
you think of it, or was he going in the background going, okay, now pull your trousers,
Yeah.
But that was just funny to me that they kept that joke, and that's something else. Is you always hear that comedy comes in threes. If you do a joke more than 3 times, it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
They kind of proved that wrong in this film. In the and that's my second favorite scene is the one with Dr.Strange.
Right.
That scene where he did that same joke of him falling, 6 times?
Yeah.
It got funnier
Every time we go take a drink,
single
falls
time.
down the stairs.
Yeah.
Then look, he's like, I've been falling right there.
But they set that up to where it seemed like Strange was doing that on purpose.
After the second time, yes.
And then, because then the payoff was when
he brings the hammer.
And he's crashing the house as it's rolling through there.
Sorry about this. Yeah.
And I thought that was, I mean, it's taken away from like one of the funnier, not funny scene, but I thought that was like one of the more poignant scenes in a Marvel movie is when Hela destroyed Mjolnir. Just when she just boom.
What does Kate Denning call it? Meow meow?
Meow meow. Yeah.
Meow meow.
Meow meow. She calls it meow meow.
John, favorite scene?
Oh my goodness. Probably not one of the more humorous scenes, but I think two scenes that I like the best. I'll start with my humorous one. Was the bowling ball against the window scene. He's
Good
like, because
scene.
I am a hero. And he throws the ball against the window and it bounces off and hits him in the head.
I was unconscious for a second.
That was the totally unpredictable scenes because, in the whole scene before that, it was like him and Valkyrie talking.
And it's like this very
poignant.
It's the
super
scene in the film where the hero gets his final resolve to do what's right.
Yeah, it was the lynch. It was the linchpin of the hero saga. And in the background, because they were masters of the background going the just the busyness of the background. Hulk's got a bowling ball. He's just throwing it against the wall like a rubber ball, and it bounces over. Thor picks it up. He's like, "Cause
that's what heroes.
That's what heroes do." And he throws it against the window.
Do all the way out though. That's what heroes do.
He throws it against the window, and he tries because he's gonna throw it out the window,
shatter it,
and it hits the window, bounces back,
it
hits him in the head, knocks him out.
Yeah,
that was a funny scene. I like that. Bruce Banner splatting on the bridge was another scene. The scene at the end where what was his name? Korg is holding Mick, which we can talk about that here in a second. But then I think my favorite scene in the movie, which really made me feel, man, this is a comic book movie that's going to be worth its time, was the scene at the end where he finally figures out. Oh, and he talks to Odin at the end, and he figures out that the thunder is actually him, not has nothing to do with the hammer, and they go to that slow motion scene of the dead climbing that real slow motion. He comes flying in
with the Led Zeppelin song.
and the immigrant song starts, and that was killer for me.
That was an awesome action scene.
And you need to tell yours, but the scene that I really like, not a scene, but another series of scenes, is the one non-comical character, Idris Elba as
Heimdall.
Yeah, that was great. You had one character.
He was always serious.
Any jokes?
Yep.
And if he had it would have changed the character. He was just cool. I mean, that character was just awesome. It wasn't a lot, and I would dare say not even enough. But I guess because they had, only had
but
so
it
much
was
time.
like every part he was in was effective.
But he was the true savior of Asgard. He got them all together for Thor to save everybody.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. That he wasn't a joke.
I loved the whole gladiator fighting scene.
Yes,
because there's dialogue going on within it. There's the Loki scenes. There's the Goldblum scenes, and there's the there's a part of it where Thor is just rocking the Hulk when he gets that big hammer, and it's just beating him up. And I don't know. It just I thought that was a fun scene. And then I think the scene where Asgard blows up, and Korg's like, "Oh yeah, as long as the foundation's good, you can save it, and we can bring all these people here. It can be." Oh no, foundation's gone. It's done for. I just thought that was great.
Every scene with that character in it was just classic. I mean, the whole thing. Even the scene where he's sitting there on the floor and it just cuts to it, and it's got Mick sitting there, and there's this gooey stuff running out of him.
He's like, "Is that ectoplasm?
Is that ectoplasm?
There's those eggs." I forgot all about that scene.
Hey, Mick, is that ectoplasm coming out of you? Are you laying eggs?
And also, I forgot about we're gonna go through that big one, the devil's anus. I didn't name it.
It was awesome.
That's good.
We were talking about last week, Brian, and we said it's definitely a top Marvel, one of the top MCU movies.
I'm really curious. The further I get away from it, how I still feel, because got that movie high.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Brian,
the only thing I didn't like about it was that after the first after scene credit, just because I didn't understand whose ship that was.
Yeah. I'm curious. Is it Thanos' ship? Is it like the?
It's a Klingon bird of prey.
It kind of had that look.
What I wondered if it was maybe the Collector, because I thought Loki had the Tesseract so that he could pick up another stone.
Oh, that could be it. Maybe he's making a deal.
Well, see, in a way, if it plays out correctly, and if you see the kind of the bootleg copy of Avengers, it'll probably play this out. Is I bet you at the beginning of Infinity War, and I may be wrong, but I bet you at the beginning of Infinity War, whoever's on the ship boards it,
Thor's
and they throw Thor off the ship.
The thing I'm curious about is I'll have to go watch it. I'm pretty sure he's got both his eyes back in the Infinity War trailer. Of course, it could have just been a throw-off reshoot.
Well, in the Thor Ragnarok trailer, they show him stand up on the bridge for that final battle. He's got both eyes too.
Yeah.
So they kept that.
Right.
They recut that. So
I mean, easily to do.
I'm cool with the fact they lost an eye. I mean, it makes him like Loki said. It suits you.
Yeah.
In the actual Ragnarok storyline in the comic books, he actually pulls out both his eyes to make some kind of sacrifice. So that's kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod. And Scourge, his final death in the Ragnarok movie, mimics the comics almost like identically. He's got the guns. He's saving the ship. And for
me, he was
he's more of
link.
I think he's more of a nod to the comic fans.
Yeah, I guess
than
he's more the
anything.
comics, because for me the thing about it was that character could have been completely left out, and it wouldn't have changed anything. I think you can definitely say, as funny and as humorous as was, kind of a sad move too, because you can tell that this is definitely, or will probably be, the end of the Thor storyline, because they kill
Sure.
all the.
They killed all his friends.
Yeah,
Of course, the
everybody's
whole
dead.
Thor storyline in the comics is that Ragnarok always occurs and Asgard always is reborn, and it's stuck in this loop.
Because like in the comic books, like Asgard is like floating over Oklahoma or
Some
something.
point. Yeah, at one point.
Which is something I'm
Yeah.
not into the comics that much. So,
Well,
So
That's
yeah,
where the wing
yeah. I
goes
mean,
through
they
the
totally
planets.
killed all his friends. Lady Sif was nowhere to be seen. So yeah, I don't know, but
She's credited though.
yeah. The actor Lady Sif was credited as being in the play, the fake play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's somewhere in there. But probably definitely is closing the book on Thor. He'll be in the Infinity movies. But yeah, so overall loved it. Thought it was great.
I thought it was incredibly good. I liked everything about it. One scene that we haven't really touched on, which I thought was really good, and of course I'm into the fantasy movies. I think that's the reason why I like the Thor one so much, because I appreciate the Lord of the Ring movies, the Hobbit movies. I mean, okay, they're not the greatest thing ever made. They're kind of long, but I still like the fantasy style. So the flashback scene of all the Valkyrie,
The Valkyries.
yeah, fighting
That was
on
a
their
good
on their
scene.
Pegasus, I thought that was
That's fun.
really cool.
Mhm.
I like that scene a lot.
And I thought they did a great job of showing that flashback without it being some kind of like long drawn out flashback. It's just a quick Loki grabs her head, sees the scene, comes back, and they don't even discuss it anymore.
Yeah.
She just beats the crap out of him and they go on.
I've always loved, and I liked it in this one, how he does it, how the Loki character slimes his way in and out of every situation that he's ever
so
been
good
in.
at it. Yeah.
And they could not have found anybody better to play that than Tom.
He's fantastic.
There's nobody
Tom-
who could have
Tom
played that
Hiddleston's good.
character. And even me, they did it for me. They did it right, because at the end of the movie, here he comes off the spaceship and he's got the helmet on with the two horns.
Oh, yeah.
And that was okay. I was like, I'm good,
I'm
because
That's one thing that I was disappointed about, because in the trailer he takes the knives and he flips them,
Yeah.
catches them. That wasn't in the film.
Yeah.
no, it wasn't, was it?
Extended cut.
But what was he kept saying? He's that help me, or
Yeah.
I don't want to do. Please help.
Please help. Please help.
And then later on at the end, Loki's sitting on the bridge. He's like, I don't think please
I don't
help's
think,
gonna
I don't
work.
think Please Help's gonna work.
It was always amazing.
That was good.
It was a great film. If you haven't seen it yet, it's been out for a week. Go see Thor Ragnarok. We're still high about it, and we think that everybody should go and see this film. Brian,
more excited to see Justice League though.
Me and Brian were talking about this, and we were talking about this upstairs before we started recording this, and we've got to go see it, because we trash talk it so much. We've got to actually.
I'm going to go see Justice.
Yeah, it'll probably not be a big event movie for me. I think it's one of the things we'll probably catch out of
Catch it
matinee.
on a Tuesday.
We're like,
$5
yeah, you know,
person.
we'll go see it. But I don't think that there's any way that the Justice League can
live up to
this.
No.
I mean, there's absolutely no way, and it's almost sad. It's almost unfair.
It is.
I mean, really, it's almost unfair to the Justice League movie, because people who go to see, and I'm not one of those type of people. They're like, oh, I'm Marvel only. I'm gonna go see no DC or DC only. I'll go see it all. I think it's all great, but it's almost unfair that they have to go up against this movie, because there's going to be a comparison. I mean, it's going to be complete. Well, that's because you can see it in the Justice League trailers that they're really pushing the funny. They're really trying to push the
I
funny.
feel like watching the Justice League trailers, I almost feel like it's being made with the idea of like, oh my gosh, we cannot screw this up. Like,
Yeah.
like we cannot screw this up. If
Well,
we
how many
screw
times
this
have they
up,
recut it? How
too
times
many times.
Have they re
2 or
refilmed
3 at
scenes?
least. I mean, they've removed
Rewritten
characters,
whole entire scenes.
brought in Whedon and all kinds of stuff.
It's been insane. All right. Well, any final words on Ragnarok this night, Brian?
I just thought that the whole pace of the movie was good.
Yes.
Like as we touched on, with all the different flashbacks and characters coming in and coming out, I never felt like it bogged down anywhere. I just felt like the whole movie flowed very, very well. But yeah, I thought it was amazing.
It's funny you
I thought it
say
was really
that. We said the same exact thing in the first, in last week's show.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
The flow of it
Good
was
deal.
the flow of it was incredibly good. The pacing was incredibly good. it didn't feel like a 2.5 hour movie.
No.
I told them last week, Brian, and I'll say to you, it really felt like I was actually reading a comic book. The pacing was so well done. I didn't ever get that. What's going on? What they say that? Why did they do this?
Yeah.
Everything was well explained. It was a simple romp. I mean, it was just a
But
really
it wasn't
good
like
romp.
it wasn't so detailed an explanation that you're like, oh my gosh, shoot me.
Yeah,
It was a very. This is an explanation. This is it. We're done. We're moving on.
So anyway, yeah, definitely go see it. Spoilers, make sure spoiler alert it. And Brian, you want to stick around here? We got just a couple minutes left tonight. You want to stick around and for a Wrestling Minute?
Sounds good, man. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Let me get. I had that going. There we go. Tonight, got Charlie on the couch. He's going to be doing some Wrestling Minute. Brian staying on with us.
All right, this is probably going to be wrestling half minute, but I thought this was funny because it's our worlds colliding. Okay, so one of the better wrestling podcasts out there is called Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard played Brother Love in the WWE in the 80s, and he was also worked for the company for a long, long time. He has a podcast now with a guy named Conrad Thompson. This week on Raw, New Day dressed as them for Halloween. So not this week, but the week before, Halloween week, they dressed as them, which is just funny that a podcast that's not affiliated with this network has become so popular. It's kind of one of the things that made me want to do a podcast, and of course, my friends involved, and then of course Tim later on involved.
Not friend.
No, we asked Tim from the beginning, but anyway, it's just interesting how podcasting has taken over so much. Also, Brian, did you see that they're doing War Games at NXT?
Oh, I did not get that.
Yeah, they're doing the old WCW pay-per-view War Games at NXT, and WWE said they would never bring that back because Vince hated
wow, that's
it,
huge.
but they're doing it at their pay-per-view.
Are they going to do World War III, 90-man Royal Rumble?
Yeah, sorry, World War III, War Games, same thing, yeah.
Okay.
It's like 3 cages and all that stuff. So, Brian, anything you want to add to Wrestling Minute?
No, just with SummerSlam with the Survivor Series coming up. Anxious to see kind of how that all plays out. The whole SmackDown going to Raw, trying to do the takeover kind of thing. It was like, what? And then Daniel Bryan, getting slammed by his former partners through the table. It's like, where are we going with this storyline? I feel like we've almost ran out of the brand split. Like, we're going to need to bring them back together.
Oh, yeah, they probably will eventually. Tim,
that'd be all I'd have for the Wrestling Minute.
What's up?
anything you want to add?
No, I don't have any wrestling.
All right, well, that's your Wrestling Minute in 25 seconds.
Do you want me to bring in Aaron just for the Would You Rather?
Yeah, let's bring him in. Would you rather? Because
Brian,
we're
gonna holler at you later.
Brian, we thank you for being on here tonight, man. We'll see you back here next week.
Get your tagline in.
Hey, thank you, guys. I'll see you later, players.
Later, playa.
All right, later.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna be getting Aaron on here. We're running late today, man. That was serious talk about Ragnarok. We're running over on that, but we do thank everybody for continuing to listen to us and watching us on YouTube. We do appreciate the YouTube love we're getting out there. We're shocked with it. We're very thankful for it. We're glad that people are picking up, listening, and watching us on there.
All right.
You can catch us on Facebook, SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes, and Facebook here, YouTube.
And Passenger Pigeon.
Hey, Aaron, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, welcome to the end of the show, Aaron.
We got about 5 minutes left, Aaron.
we went spoiler crazy on it.
We went
Ragnarok.
nuts on this thing.
So we're hoping that when you watch it, you get to go spoiler crazy for a little bit with us.
Trying to pull a card here, Aaron.
But we wanted you to be here for the Would You Rather because you just make it happen.
Did you have one tonight,
All right.
Aaron, or do you want me to read one off a card?
Just read one off the card.
All right.
Are you eating taco casa tonight?
I did.
Telling you, man.
Oh, I've got some breaking news that they just reported on the internet.
Hang on, wait a
breaking
second.
news.
Wait a second. Wait.
Hold on, breaking news. Yeah, breaking news. It'll be a week old. Wouldn't All right, Aaron, lay it on us.
Amazon is looking into a Lord of the Rings TV series.
Ooh.
There you go.
It'd be the first F word in
First F word in
Lord of the Rings history. Frodo, you effing hobbit. It'd be the Gandalf out there.
You
Flee, you
shall not.
fools! So it's gonna be when he tells them, "Run, you fools!"
Run, you effing hobbits.
Just lay it out there, John.
Yeah, I'll lay it out there. I don't care. All right, here we go. Here's the Would You Rather for this evening.
The Hobbit.
From The Hobbit.
Never mind.
Would you rather wake up to find your neck has grown 5 inches longer or that your rear end has doubled in size?
Oh, I can tell you this one right off the bat. It's rear end.
'Cause I don't
It
have
is
one.
rear end. I don't have one. Let me show you. Let me show you.
No, we don't need. No, we don't.
Look. Pants just go flat. There's nothing there. There's nothing there.
Holy gosh.
I took my shirt off. Tim's flashing
What
his
is
phone.
wrong with you all?
I'm just showing you that I don't have a
John
butt, so
talks
that's
about
an
how he didn't wear
easy
pants
one.
Sometimes under the
Easy one.
table. It's just
I mean,
I
my
seriously doubt
pants-
that Chris Hemmingsworth is watching.
Chris Hemingway.
Hemingway.
Aaron, what would you rather have there?
I regret taking this phone call.
Aaron, all I can think of is the Dana Carvey show.
yeah.
I'd rather. I
Oh
do
my
a lot of
gosh.
sitting, and my pants would be fitting if I only had it.
Oh, wow.
Sit in front of the mirror and scrutinize my rear.
Aaron, all right. Well, it's been fun. I'm going to have to go with neck. Because
What?
No.
What do you want a long neck for, John?
Because I'm not going to stand up and show everybody my
get a
rear.
double the rear, and just get people scrutinizing your rear.
But what if it's like one of those tricks where instead of double widthways, it'd be or lengthways, it'd be like so.
I just showed you my pants butt. Even double that, it would look good on me. All right, I'm just telling you.
All right.
Double the butt size.
Thank you all for listening to us. We're sorry.
I'm sorry, Brent.
I'm not sorry, Brent.